Let me know if you can hear the sound of my voice. Let me know if the audio is good in the chat room. Tell me in the chat room if you can hear me. Alright, really don't want this to go too long because I have to go to the store later. So, until somebody lets me know in the chat room that the audio sounds good, I'm just going to assume that it is, because I wanted to get this thing started. So let's go. Okay. Impact Wrestling, Week 2 of the UK Tour. Unfortunately, I'm not terribly impressed so far. Because for everything that's really good, they do some other things that really, really suck or just aren't that interesting. Plus, TNA can't figure out how to turn the lights on in the arena or mic the damn crowd properly for that matter. Not a good sign. Seriously, how fucking hard is that? You'd think they would have gotten it right by trial and error by now. Jesus. Anyway, thankfully the show starts with our Lord of Wrestling, the ass-kicking machine EC3. And he did everything right here. He's a babyface now, but his character is intact. He acknowledged that he's done a lot of shitty things, but he didn't apologize for them. And he didn't turn into some kind of ass-kisser who panders to the crowd and loses that edge that made people like him in the first place. No, he's a babyface, but he's still EC3. You know, he avoided making the mistake that a lot of others have made, which is nice. Unfortunately, the segment really died down when Tyrus came out. Frankly, I don't care if there's a story between these guys. I don't care if there's history. You're not going to generate any heat by brawling with Tyrus because Tyrus is boring as shit. He sucks and everyone knows it. So when you have Tyrus beating down EC3, I don't feel like booing. I just call bullshit, and I suspect I'm not the only one. So then Matt Hardy comes out, and they set up a tag match for later. Immediately, the crowd starts chanting for Rockstar Spud, and I'm right there with them. So that's exactly the response they wanted. A good segment here that was dragged down by Tyrus being involved, something which will also apply to the main event when I talk about that in a few minutes. After this, we have Eric Young and Bram coming out. Eric boasts about how he put Jeff Hardy out of action and no one can beat him because he's like a god now or whatever, conveniently neglecting to mention how him and Bram got embarrassed by Lashley last week. So then Beer Money come out to challenge them. EY versus James Storm gets thrown out. Everyone starts fighting and they brawl around the arena for the rest of the night. I don't have much to say about this segment. It was there. There was nothing really wrong with it, though the brawling probably went on a lot longer than it needed to. It was fine for setting up a match at Lockdown between these two teams, because apparently Eric won't be defending the King of the Mountain title at Lockdown, not surprisingly. I don't care to see Eric Young versus Bobby Roode anymore. I'm tired of it, but if you're not burned out on that feud like I am, you probably thought this was fine. Then Miracle Mike Bennett comes out and decides to show how tough he is by having a match with one of the smallest guys on the roster, not named Rockstar Spud. And maybe that wasn't such a great idea on his part, because I thought Mark Andrews outperformed him here. This kind of felt like a coming out party from Andrews, actually. Sure, he lost, and the match didn't go that long, but he was in there with a guy that TNA had been promoting like he's going to be a huge star, and he looked like a far superior wrestler despite getting pinned. Then Drew Galloway makes the save for him afterwards, and I'd be all for these guys being kind of a duo going forward if Mandrews can't team with Spud. And it would be a nice way to do something with him and have Galloway kind of take him under his wing or something, because Mandrews is a really talented guy. He just hasn't had the platform to show it yet. Next, the Monsters Ball. Wow. I don't want to discount the effort involved here as far as what these people did to their bodies. Everybody worked very hard, and there were some really sick spots here, like the suicide dive on Abyss into the barbed wire board. That was nuts. Eddie's head through the chair, getting a thumbtacks poured over him. Oh, God, there was some really brutal stuff going on here. Also, I really liked how the booking incorporated Rosemary, at least until the finish. Like I said before, when Rosemary interjects herself in the Decay's matches, because these characters are the way they are, it comes off in such a way that it complements their act, whereas with other people, that dynamic would get lost, and it would just feel like needless overbooking. So, I thought that was well done and enhanced the match nicely from a storytelling perspective, which is something that Rosemary seems to really excel at. But there were some things that bothered me about this. First, I hate to say it, but Abyss is showing his age at this point. Yeah, he can still take a lot of punishment, but he's moving really slow these days. He's definitely gotten heavier, and he's just not very exciting to watch anymore. God bless the guy, but I really would prefer if they found someone with more spring in his step for Crazy Steve to team with, and maybe they made Abyss like more of an enforcer type. I think that would be more appropriate at this point. And second, I had a problem with what the Wolves did to Rosemary at the end. With Davey kissing her the way he did to get the poison mist out and spit it back at her, yes, the way it was booked, it made sense in the story. It had been set up that way, and this might just be a personal thing with me, but I honestly would have felt more comfortable if they put her through a table or something instead. Maybe in a previous era you could get away with this type of stuff, but in 2016, a male wrestler forcing himself on a woman in that way for any reason feels a little bit too much like sexual assault, in my opinion. And how did Davey's wife Angelina feel about this, I wonder? Let's check her Twitter. Oh, that's right, she's angry at Rosemary, even though Davey is the one who forced himself on her and kissed her when she didn't want him to. Yeah, it seems to me that Davey is the one who's got some explaining to do here. But yeah, that made me a little uncomfortable. Didn't like it when Ric Flair did it to Becky Lynch, I don't like it now. And third, well, I'll just say it. I'm not happy that the Decay lost. I mean, yeah, sure, Abyss losing a Monsters Ball match is nothing new, but you just formed this new group. There's clearly been a good amount of thought and effort put into how they're being presented. Obviously, you've got some plans for them. And the first big test for the Decay, you put them in a match that's supposed to be their match, where they're the most dangerous, where they're really in their element, where they're supposed to have the upper hand, and they lose. At a time when TNA are in dire need of new viable tag teams, I really question if that was a good idea. If this had to happen, couldn't you at least have given them an excuse for losing? Like, maybe Jimmy Havoc got involved and distracted them? Apparently, there's some kind of storyline with him and Rosemary there anyway, so why not do that? I know you're building up to the Wolves versus Beer Money here, but one, that doesn't necessarily have to involve the tag titles, and two, that feud is not going to sustain a tag team division indefinitely. And seeing as how there's nothing new about either of those teams being tag team champions at this point, I think the time has come for something new, and the Decay are absolutely your best bet considering that EY and Bram just got beat by one guy last week, and Eli Drake and Jesse Goddard just got completely pissed on this week. And that brings me to, oh Christ, the Grado shit. This is stupid. One, it completely does away with any meaning in the Feast or Fired stipulation, getting the fired case, not that that hadn't already happened anyway, by turning it into a big fucking joke. Two, it's treating the audience like we're fucking idiots. And three, this has got more holes in it than a George Lucas screenplay. Okay, yeah, I get it. He changed his name and he's wearing a mask so he can come back as a different guy. Ha ha ha. But it's a load of crap. The man got fired, not the gimmick. He'd still have to put his own name on a contract. To say that he could come back just by doing this is asinine. He got taken out of the fucking building last week because he doesn't work there, and now all of a sudden he's wrestling on the show? Like putting a mask on and using a different name is all it takes? He didn't even change his music, for God's sake! If it's that easy, then why doesn't everybody who gets fired do it? WCW did the same thing back in the day with Booker T getting fired, but saving his job by coming back as G.I. Bro. Because they fired Booker T, but this is a different guy, get it? That's really smart, right? Right? No, damn it! It was fucking stupid then, and it's fucking stupid now. And on top of that, the tag match was god-awful. You take Eli Drake, who should be the most protected guy in this match because he's your future star, and you make him have to sell one of the worst goddamn pin covers I've ever seen. It was just embarrassing. And now you want to put Grado in a match at Lockdown? Why? Why? So you can make Eli Drake look like even more of a fucking fool? This is the man with the shot at the King of the Mountain title, which you seem to want to build up into something semi-prestigious. Well, how's it going to look if he goes after the title and wins it now? No one will take him seriously because this is the guy who couldn't even beat that fat idiot piece of shit Grado. And it's going to look even worse if he loses to Grado in Lockdown next week. What the hell is the UK's fascination with this asshat? Why is he even a thing? He's fucking terrible! I saw the reaction he got, alright? I'm not saying he isn't popular in the UK. Clearly he has fans, though I could probably get a big pop too if I used a Madonna song for my entrance music, which they have to dub over on TV because they can't get the rights to use it. But so the fuck what? That's a lame-ass comedy wrestler in one market. Eli Drake is the guy who could do big things for this company, and it doesn't help him whatsoever to be involved in stupid, embarrassing, insulting, brain-dead bullshit like this. Fuck this whole segment. Next, our knockout segment of the week was Jade and Marty versus Gail Kim and Madison Rayne. This match actually wasn't bad. You know, Marty got showcased a little bit more than usual, which was nice. Jade's suicide dive was cool. I appreciate the effort. But honestly, it just feels like we're going around in circles with the knockouts here. It's the same basic stuff over and over. The whole thing with the dollhouse and the beautiful people has gotten completely stale, and frankly, I don't even remember what they're fighting about. The feud is going nowhere. There's no backstory, no character development. All they're doing is trading wins back and forth. I mean, what's the storyline here? I don't even know. There is no story. It's just this team wins, and next week this team wins, and on it goes. Lather, rinse, repeat. It hasn't been effective in getting the dollhouse over because they've taken too many losses, and God knows they haven't been able to get over on Gail Kim to save their lives. Oh, and of course they lost this match too, despite having interference on the outside. And then, to add insult to injury, as soon as they try to get their heat back with the post-match beating, all three of them get their asses kicked by Velvet Sky of all people. How in the blue hell are the new girls supposed to look like a viable threat to anyone when you do shit like that? This booking can kiss my ass. I'm so ready for this feud to be done with, and hopefully next week is going to be the blow-off match. Having said that, Lethal Lockdown? Really? Hey, look, I've always been a proponent of giving the knockouts a shot in these types of situations, but do it when it's appropriate. And do it with the right women. Since she debuted way back in 2007, Velvet Sky has wrestled like she's afraid to break a nail. You really think putting her in Lethal Lockdown is going to lead to anything good? While we're at it, Rebel probably shouldn't be in a match like that either. And I actually like Rebel, but let's not kid ourselves about how great she still is. I'm sorry, but I think this is a bad idea. The story isn't there, the heat isn't there, this feud has been fizzling out since Creative dropped the ball on it, and now is not the time to do Lethal Lockdown. You won't even have enough solid girls in there to make it worth doing. Gail, Jade, and Madison are going to have to carry everything. You won't find a bigger proponent of the knockouts than me, but in my opinion, this just seems really ill-advised. And then, finally, that brings us to our main event. I did like the story of EC3 not wanting a partner, insisting that he was going to do this alone, almost like he was admitting the role he played in getting them here, and now he's going to die on this hill. And I like the whole thing with Spud coming out. Wasn't a surprise, really, but not everything needs to be, especially when it's what the audience wants anyway. So, conceptually, they had the right idea here. Unfortunately, there were a whole lot of moving parts to this match that just didn't work. This should be really simple. You have EC3 fight like a warrior against two guys, eventually get overwhelmed by the numbers and because the heels are playing dirty, and right when there's a ton of heat built up, right when it looks like he's about to lose and the tension is at its peak, then Spud comes out to help him. First problem. You can't build up any heat with Tyrus because nobody gives a shit about Tyrus because Tyrus sucks. Second problem. Spud came out way too soon. Before they could build up enough tension, and it was right after the commercial break, so the timing was all fucked up. And third, the match was not as exciting as it should have been because, once again, Tyrus sucks! He has no business being in a fucking main event match, period. If Matt needs a tag team partner, he should leave that fat, unathletic piece of crap in the back so he can keep breastfeeding Maxwell. He's been booked like a jobber since the day he walked into this company, except for that one match where he won a world title shot, God help us. You can't put him in a main event from out of nowhere after all that and expect it to work. I'm sorry. They had the right idea with this main event. The bones of the appropriate story were there, but in execution it just didn't come off that well due to several easily fixable problems. At least the right team won, though. I do like the nod to continuity that EC3 and Spud weren't necessarily immediately best friends after the match. They worked together here, but there's still a lot to be worked out. Yeah, that's good. That's a lot more like these types of things should be done. It's more believable that way. And did you see EC3 directing the crowd as they sang his theme song? That's awesome. Let nobody say that EC3 won't work as a babyface. I think he's already proven the doubters wrong about that. So that was the show. Some good things, some bad things. Certainly not my favorite show of the Pop TV era, but not without some merit. Monsters Ball was great, even if I didn't agree with the winner. EC3 is firing on all cylinders as a babyface. Him and Spud are back together again, which I love. But the Grado garbage was exactly that. Garbage. Why are you pissing on Eli Drake like this? He deserves better, and so do we. And for God's sake, get some new knockouts and do something interesting with them. And by interesting, I don't mean putting Velvet Sky in a fucking cage match. That's ridiculous. Get some new girls, at least 3 to start with, to replace Kong, Brooke, and Taryn. Cherry Bomb and Jennifer Blake are clearly interested, so take a hint. Get them in the ring, revamp this damn division, and try to generate some fucking interest in it again. And that is what I thought of Impact Wrestling this week. Alright, Andre Corbeil agrees with me about the go-away Grado thing. Thank you. I'm sorry, that stuff is just embarrassing and insulting, and I got secondhand embarrassment for TNA putting that shit on their show. It's so dumb. I can't believe they did that to Eli Drake. What is the benefit here? Okay, so you get a pop in the UK? Why, at the risk of doing damage to a big potential future star in Eli Drake? That was the worst goddamn pin cover I'd ever seen. It was just terrible. Oh, man. Angelina Love began teasing on Twitter that she may go after Rosemary when she comes back. I have a feeling that she will become the Wolves' valet or something. Not a bad idea at all, I think. I think it's a bad idea, actually. Yeah, Angelina was teasing that. But she was also asked whether she was coming back to wrestling after she gave birth, and she said, anything's possible. So, I think she's just trying to keep herself relevant and be active on social media because she is still employed with the company. But I don't think Angelina coming back to wrestling after she has the baby is a sure thing. I think it kind of seems to me like she doesn't know. And she's kind of keeping all her options open. Plus, I don't think putting her with the Wolves would work. Okay, yeah, they're married in real life, so what? On screen, their characters couldn't be more different. No, the Wolves are like these no-nonsense ass-kickers, and Angelina is like the bitchy, mean girl who, puts paper bags over people's heads. Their characters just don't fit together. No, I don't see that. Did TNA sign Jimmy Havoc? I don't know. They're using him on the UK tour. He made his first appearance this week in a backstage pre-tape with the Decay. I know he's going to have at least one match, but that's all we know at this point. He might. They usually bring in a couple UK talents for the tour, just as like a treat for the UK crowds, and that could be all this is. They've done this before. They use these people for a couple of dates, and then we don't see them again. They might bring him in. Lord knows they need to replenish their roster because the roster is pretty damn thin still. I don't know a lot about Jimmy Havoc, but from what little I do know, I think he'd probably be a more appropriate tag partner for Crazy Steve than Abyss would be. I think he'd fit with that group a lot better than Abyss does. That's probably my one gripe about the Decay, is that Abyss doesn't really feel like he belongs. I think Rosemary and Crazy Steve fit together perfectly, but Abyss is kind of... He doesn't... I don't know, that synergy with him isn't quite there. I think Jimmy Havoc would probably be a better fit, but that's just me. Maybe make Abyss like an enforcer type. Shame TNA has been losing viewers. The shows have been pretty solid since the move to Pop. Yeah, I mean, they haven't had a bad show since Pop TV. I mean, the shows were going up for the first several weeks. Now they're kind of tapering off. They're still doing better viewership than they were doing on Destination America, though. But, this is what happens when TNA don't advertise. Because they don't feel they need to advertise. Because, their idea of advertising is telling people on Twitter to tell a friend. It takes more than that, TNA. I'm sorry. When do Matt Hardy lose the world title and end this nightmare of a title reign and storyline? I don't know. That O-Dog stuff was stupid for so many reasons that I would rather not even try to explain it. You did it yourself anyway. Mm-hmm. Man, fuck Grado. Yes. After listening to you on Grado and Feast or Fired, our opinions are totally mirrored. So yeah, it seems like we're all pretty much in agreement with this Grado stuff. I don't understand that guy at all. I don't get him. Why does he have any fans? Why do people in the UK like him? He's awful. I don't. Robbie E makes more sense to me than this does. Because at least like the Jersey Shore crap had fans. I don't know why, but there were some people who were into the Jersey Shore thing. So you take a Jersey Shore gimmick. Okay, I can sort of understand that logic, even though the guy still sucks. But Grado, why? I don't get it. This will never make any sense to me why people like this idiot. It's just... I don't get it. I want the Knockouts to beat up Maria because I can't stand her. Man, I'm so conflicted about that. On the one hand, I don't want Maria to be the Knockouts champion. I'm really just hoping that's not where they're going with this. But on the other hand... Maria is the one saying that the knockout division is broken and needs to be changed and evolved and whatever. And she's right. It occurred to me the other day that if you watch that promo with Gail and Maria again, and don't really change the verbiage all that much, but if you take the same basic message that they were both trying to get across, and then switch the face-heel roles, so Gail is the heel and Maria's the face, it would actually work. You wouldn't even have to change, like I said, it could almost be like a verbatim promo. Almost. Except for the part where Maria turns coward at the end. But if they get the same basic promo, except Maria's the face and Gail's the heel, it would almost make more sense. Because Maria's message is the right one. She's the one who wants the knockout division to change and become like mainstream and stuff. And those are all good things. And the problem is it can't because it's stagnant because people like Gail have been in the spots they've been in for too long. I actually think that would be an interesting swerve if Gail turned out to be the ultimate heel in this situation. How she's like trying to stand up for the knockout division and defend it against these new people coming in, but then it turns out that she's really just selfishly trying to protect her spot by any means necessary, and she's kind of like the female version of the main event mafia. It's not that out of the question if you think about it. Because as much as I like Gail, I don't think that would be too far off from reality, from what's going on in real life. Grado, dude, in my opinion, can't wrestle for shit. However, his understanding of wrestling psychology is better than anyone else that comes to mind. Really? Better than anyone else? The guy's entrance is absolutely electrifying, 100% on par with Stone Cold to The Rock before they got kind of played out. Okay, I think you're trolling me here. Yeah. Yeah, you can't say something like that and not come off like a fucking troll, dude. I'm sorry. Like I said, anyone would be able to get a big reaction if they used the fucking Madonna song as their entrance music. Okay, they can't show it on TV, so they dub over it, but that's what he's doing. That's what people are reacting to. You take away the music, are people gonna pop for the guy? Electrifying entrance? Really? 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 No, I think you're fucking trolling me. But he knows how to work a crowd, get them pumped up, build his momentum, work a believable, incredible match against guys that are 2 and 3 times his size. Work a believable, incredible match, huh? Okay, I'm not listening to you anymore. Yeah, why does Eli Drake have to get beat by Grado, the lame-ass bitch? This was just straight-up dumb match, worse than the Dollhouse versus Gail Kim and Madison Rain, which that match was way better. I'm not sure why you're comparing it to the Knockouts tag match. That match was fine. I read the spoilers in Lockdown. It's not too good, in my opinion, including the main event. Alright, well, no spoilers, please. Not everybody likes to be spoiled. Using cheat tactics that will still allow him to be a face. Just watch Grado Burke Crim. If it doesn't do it for you, then bail, but at least watch that one clip. I bet. No. Eli Drake is one of the 5 guys on that roster that can really help carry this company, but they have to be careful and not fuck it up. This guy has all the necessary tools to be a major superstar. Agreed? I don't see how getting jobbed out to that embarrassing piece of crap is going to do anything for him. Maybe if he beat the shit out of Grado and destroyed him and like throw him into a dumpster or something, that would get him over as a heel in the UK, certainly. But no, putting over Grado in the one market where he seems to mean something, I guess, is more important to them, which is just so soul-crushing. Excuse me. Did anyone see Bellator last night? I saw the clip of the ending of the match. Wow, that was bad. I'm gonna try to find that match somewhere. I wasn't watching the show, but wow, I heard about how bad that fight was. I saw that one clip. It is Oh, man. What a train wreck that must have been. Yeah, Dollhouse could be good if they didn't lose all the time. Yeah, they had something good with them to start with, but then last summer it all started going downhill when Gale came back and destroyed them all. Ever since then, it's like they can't get any momentum going because all they do is they just get jobbed out every time Gale is on the screen. It sucks because there's potential with this group. It seemed like they were on the right track with them, but then I don't know. I don't know what happened. I mean, yeah, they lost Terran and then they lost Kong, but there's still some talent there, and they're still worth putting them over. But it's like it's almost I hate to go down this road, but it almost seems like Gale got insecure and wanted to protect her spot by making sure the new girls don't get over. So she has to beat them all the time. It's just it sucks. I don't I don't like saying this about Gale, but this is where my mind is starting to go to because this stuff has been going on for a long time. And not just with the Dollhouse either. I mean, it just seems like anyone who gets over on Gale in any significant way ultimately gets sabotaged. It happened to Brooke, it happened to Taryn, and, those girls aren't around anymore. I mean, it even happened with Kong eventually. Is this all some kind of conspiracy with management to keep Gale ensconced at the top of the card? Again, I don't like saying this, but it's kind of hard to it's kind of hard to deny that it kind of makes sense. I mean, it's been 9 years and they've still got Gail Kim at the top at the top of the Knockouts division, ruling the whole thing. How are they supposed to make any new stars as long as this keeps going on? I don't get it. I really appreciate the very slow approach to EC3's character change. He's basically still the same character, with a difference being that people cheer for him. Yes, exactly. That's why it works. A lot of people, when a lot of faces, I can't talk. A lot of the time when heels turn face, they change too much about themselves, and they just turn into these ass-kissing brown-nosers who suck up to the crowd and try to play nice with everybody, and they lose that edge that made them popular and made people want to cheer for them in the first place, and that's dumb. They need to keep the same character, just make a little tweak here and there so people can cheer for them and don't feel bad for cheering for them, and basically be the same person, just give them different opponents, And don't blatantly act like a heel and stuff. And EC3 is doing it right. He's keeping the same character. He's just a good guy now. But he's still EC3. And that's exactly the way it should be. I have no problem with Knockout Lethal Lockdown as long as the Dollhouse wins and they move on from this feud. Yeah, the Dollhouse absolutely need that win. But I have a problem with the match. I don't think it's a great idea. This is a match that traditionally is supposed to be really violent and brutal, and where the participants do some really sick stuff, and I'm not optimistic that they're going to pull this off. Velvet Sky, I think we all know, is not going to do anything really sick. She's not going to take any bad bumps. And not going to take any really painful shots or whatever, because Velvet just doesn't do that stuff. Rebel, I think, is... I really don't think it's a good spot for Rebel to be in. I don't think she has enough experience to really know what she's doing in that type of environment. Marty's a question mark. I don't think she's performed badly so far, but she hasn't really been showcased all that much, so we really don't know if she's going to sink or swim in that type of match. So basically, it's up to Gail, Jade, and Madison to carry this thing. And the rest of them, it's like, who knows? And And the questions got away from me again. They need to bring in a faction of 5 new knockouts fresh to the company to really freshen up the stale bag of booking. Absolutely agree. They need a minimum of 3 new girls just to replace the girls who left recently. So they need to replace Kong, Brooke, Taryn, and then they need more new girls to replenish the knockout roster, which was already on the shallow side before those people started leaving. For some reason, TNA has always dragged their feet on replenishing the knockouts when they lose talent. I mean, for a while, wasn't that long ago when they let the roster get down to like 4 girls. It's like, well, what the hell are you waiting for? And the hell, there was a period where they needed to sign new knockouts for like 2 years and they didn't do it. Okay, they brought in new women recently, but we only know one of those women that's a good wrestler. And that's Rosemary. Okay, who else do we have? We got Maria, who's worth a good promo, but I don't want to see her wrestle, do you? There's Raquel, who has had 2 matches, and that second one didn't go so well, if you hadn't heard. And we got Rebby, who, as far as I know, has not wrestled since she had the baby, and wasn't necessarily all that great before she got pregnant. And then they got Rosemary, who is working great as a character, as a manager, is doing some really great stuff, is a super interesting character, but they haven't put her in the ring yet, even though she's certainly the best of the women they brought in so far. Okay, if these girls aren't going to be wrestling, and if you're not going to put Rosemary in the ring, then you need at least 3 more girls who can be put in the ring immediately. Like I said, look at Cherry Bomb's Twitter. Look at Jennifer Blake's Twitter. They want in. Start with those 2. Thoughts on GFW getting a TV deal in New Zealand? I don't really have one. I don't have any thoughts. TV deal in New Zealand, okay. Good for them. I'm not really paying attention to GFW. That should help keep them in business, I guess. Okay. No spoilers in the chat room, please. I love how they didn't even bother to mention or hype the X Division title match for next week. No, they mentioned it. They just didn't hype it. Let's see. Velvet Sky should do something better than just put herself in lethal lockdown. Well, she should do something else. Why is Rebel in this match? She's still green. Marty Bell can improve, and Gail, Madison, Jade are good for this. Yeah. Totally. Velvet should absolutely not be in there. Rebel, I think, is just a big question mark. It's probably not a great idea for her to be in there either. And Marty, she might do well in there, and she might not. We really haven't seen enough of her to make a decision on that. Gail traditionally does deliver in this type of environment. I'm sure Jade can rise to the occasion, and Madison's been wrestling solidly since she turned babyface, or at least in recent times. So, if the match focuses on those 3 and lets them carry it, it might be alright, but it's still, you got half the girls in this thing is just, probably shouldn't be in there. It's just, I don't think it's a good idea. So Gail and Velvet destroyed the dollhouse. I'm sure that won't be the case for Rosemary. Yeah, right. I'm sure that won't be the case. Yeah. It's. I'm conflicted. I want Rosemary to start wrestling, but at the same time, I don't want her to get buried like all the other new girls. It's so counterproductive at this point. It serves no purpose other than to keep the stalwarts ensconced in their spots when what needs to happen is they need to be kicked out of their spots. and I've discussed this before, but there seems to be a belief within TNA management that they need to keep the established knockout status quo in place come hell or high water. So they need to take the girls that have been there for 9 years and keep them where they are, because if they aren't in those spots, then they don't know what to do, apparently. And they're so terrified about anyone kicking them out of those spots and anyone replacing them. So if there's ever a danger of that happening, suddenly something bad happens to the people who are trying to do it. Reference Brooke, reference Taryn. It sucks. Velvet Sky doesn't even want to be there anymore. She wants to go to WWE, everybody knows that. So fucking just let her leave. Grado is the Scottish Colt Cabana, that's why people like him. I think comparing Grado to Colt Cabana is an insult to Colt Cabana. Why? Because Colt Cabana is actually funny. Colt Cabana is actually entertaining. Grado's just a fat piece of shit. He's not funny, he's not entertaining, he's just an ass clown. He's just a big jackass. No, I think you owe Colt Cabana an apology by saying that, actually. I watched one of your old videos. Why do you refer to WrestleMania as Entertainment Mania? That's something that PS Power said once, like years ago. Because back when wrestling was a dirty word in WWE, so he was calling it Entertainia. I just thought it was funny, so I did that. I just called it that. Once everyone gets to see Rosemary wrestle, they will love her even more. Fact is, she's Canada's female suplex machine. I agree. She's a good wrestler. I'm confident that she can hold her own with the other knockouts. But will she get the opportunity to do so? That's the question. Because, excuse me. Because, look at the other girls that are trying to get established right now. They're not doing so well. They're not getting the wins they need because it seems like the priority is to use them to prop up the girls that have already been there for years. They could be getting some real momentum if they could get over on Gail, but they can't because Gail's just using them as a stepping stone to keep herself where she is and keep her spot secure. I don't want Rosemary to turn into another example of that. No, if Rosemary is going to be wrestling with the other knockouts, I want her to go over. Because she's super interesting and she's really talented, and I think she could do good things in the knockout division if she gets a chance. If she gets a chance, but she needs to have that chance. She needs to get wins. And it doesn't seem like they're very eager to give the new girls wins over the established girls. At least not in Gail Kim's case. I mean, what would it really hurt to have Gail Kim put over some people? Her spot's not going anywhere. She's obviously going to be the number one woman in TNA until the day she retires. Letting some girls pin her to put them over is not going to change that. It seems like Gail is just really, really hesitant to put anyone over, though. I don't know why. Mike and Drew feud is actually really interesting. Yeah, I agree. It hasn't been bad at all. I just I'm not so sure about them feuding over the world title briefcase because I don't think either of them are quite at a point where it makes sense for them to do that yet. Eli Drake being pinned by Grado was a joke. Eli has the look of a champion, in my opinion, and he's one of those guys who TNA should build their company around along with EC3 and Bennett. Agreed. Funniest part is Grado losing his mask and Eli staring right at him during the pin botch. Much. Yeah. Well, funny. Yeah, that's one way to put it. The mask doesn't even cover his face, though. I mean, the whole thing is being treated as a big joke. Except the joke is on Eli Drake. And that's why it's not funny. It's just treating the audience like we're idiots. The mask doesn't even cover his face. He's using the same music. How the hell did he get back in the company? He's supposed to be fired. He was taken out of the building the last week. And now he's back? He's not even trying to make it look like he's a different guy. It's stupid. It's stupid. Totally agree with both you and Crashmaster about EC3. I especially like how Ethan's previous heat with Spud and Dixie hasn't been glossed over, and him leading the crowd at the end was really cool. Yeah, that was great. Oh. Yeah, that was awesome. I hope he keeps doing that. It was cool to see Beer Money and EY and Bram fighting the crowd. Haven't seen that in a while. Yeah, I like that. I think the brawling went on too long. I mean, they cut back to that several times throughout the night. It felt unnecessary to me. Maybe that's because I'm kind of burned out on EY and Rude. So to me, it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of mileage in this feud particularly, but that's just me. Other people probably into it. Crowd singing EC3's theme song was awesome. Oh yeah. Grado is a Scottish version of Eugene. That is a better comparison, I think. Is there a reason why Anderson wasn't on the UK tour? Not that I know of. I guess they just didn't have any plans for him in those shows. Now, he's still one of the bigger name talents you have. It seems like that's the kind of guy you'd want on the UK tour, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I've never heard anyone say that they like Grado. No comment necessary. I think so far storylines have made more sense and feel not as rushed or forced. There's actually some build to them, which is refreshing. Yeah. I mean, there are things you can pick apart, sure, but for the most part, I think creative has been better recently than it's been in the past. I mean, they've made some additions. I think, Matt Hardy is supposedly working in creative now. Shane Helms is supposedly in there, too. So, also Billy Corgan, who seems to be a really intelligent guy who has good ideas. I'm not going to say creative is perfect. Far from it. But it does seem like there have been some changes for the better recently. As for Odark the Great, that name is hilarious purely because of how stupid it is. I mean, how the fuck did anyone in TNA office fall for that shit? Yeah, I mean, look at it. Look at Odark backwards. They seriously expect us to think that somebody in management fell for this. The whole thing is a farce. Maybe it's supposed to be funny because of how bad it is, but no, it's not funny, it's just bad. Gail Kim is the only TNA star booked like John Cena. Yeah. Yeah, she's Jane Cena, alright. Yeah. Would you agree with me that Grado was the Velvet Sky of this year's Feast or Fired? Pretty much, yeah. Gets the fired case, and then comes back not long after, because the fired stipulation meant nothing. Mm-hmm. Eli Drake was like Magnus. Forget what Magnus got last year. No, Magnus got the tag title shot last year. Beer Money was like Storm and Gunner. No, Storm and Gunner got the world title shot. There's no similarities here. And Drew was like Aries, but yeah, both got the world title shot. Yeah, that one works. The Grado and Velvet stuff was stupid. I hope that's just for the UK shows and not an every week thing. Yeah. I watched that Kimbo fight from last night with Spanish commentary. The Spanish commentary was more entertaining than the fight. No, Grado's psychology is not second to none. Even if you think he's actually good, how is anyone going to rank him above the masterful job EC3 has done developing his character over 2 years? Yeah, I think that person was trolling us when he said that, dude. Let's not even dignify that comment with a response. And to say his entrance gets a bigger pop than The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin did, I dare anyone to go look back at some of the Rock and Austin classics' past entrances of them just walking into the ring back in the Attitude Era and try to make that argument right after doing so. Oh, more comments. Realistically, how many new knockouts do you think will be on Impact when they film in March? Realistically, maybe one. Like I said, TNA have historically really dragged their feet on replenishing the knockout division, so at most I'm expecting one, if that. The X division is basically has Trevor, Uno, DJZ, and Mandrews. That's not really a division. They need more talent. I agree, but what's the point, really? They barely use the X division guys they have now. So why bring in new guys so they can not use them like they don't use these guys? If they bring in like Shinron or somebody, great. Are they actually going to use him in any significant way? I don't know. And they don't get much use out of Mark Andrews. And DJZ barely does anything these days. Hell, they barely used Tigre Uno when he was the X Division champion for months. I'm just saying. Rebel does not fit with the Dollhouse. I disagree. I think personality-wise, she's done a great job of fitting in. I agree that her joining the Dollhouse made no sense. I mean, they beat her up backstage, and then the next time she showed up, she was a member. That didn't make any sense, and they've never bothered to explain it. But I think she's changed up her persona enough that she fits right in. With or without an explanation. The only females that Rosemary should face is Cherry or Jade, that's it. Just the thought of Rosemary losing to Velvet or Gale is vomit-inducing. I mean, I would love it if they brought in Cherry Bomb and just put her feud with Courtney Rush on TV. I just tweeted something like that before I started this. I mean, their feud is over as hell in Smash Wrestling. Why not just bring that in and put it on television? Because we know they can carry a feud. I mean, the way Rosemary and Cherry Bomb have been interacting on Twitter, it's almost like they expect it to happen. And you see Cherry Bomb commenting on Rosemary being on TV and stuff, and she's like, "Are you kidding me?" When she showed up, it's funny stuff. Like I said, we know they can carry a feud, and Cherry Bomb wants in. You've used her several times now. She's got to be on the short list for knockout candidates, so fucking sign her and put her on TV. But yeah, just the thought of Rosemary losing to Velvet Sky is just, I don't even want to think about it. I don't want her jobbing to Gale either. Of course, that's probably inevitable. Will Ospreay, who was on the UK tour, I think TNA should try to sign that dude. He's the next great X Division star, in my opinion. Looks like New Japan signed him first. So, probably not a possibility right now. Yeah, the thought of Madison Rayne and Velvet Sky in a cage match honestly does not invoke great memories for me. I think Madison will do okay. I mean, I've been as critical of Madison Rayne as anybody. I'm sure you guys remember if you watched my old videos. But she's changed as a performer since then. I think Madison will be okay in that match. Velvet Sky, no. Aren't they doing the same thing for O-Dog like they did for El Generico? That would be offensive to him and sad for the orphans Generico is taken care of. I don't know what you're talking about. What did they do with El Generico? Oh, and the Brie Charlotte segment was utter trash. I thought I was kidding when I said she talks worse than a robot. You saw it Monday night. No, Brie does talk like a robot. She can't act. She's completely wooden. No, I agree with you on that. It's crazy that in 2016, and Gail Kim is still the focus in TNA. Yeah. Like, I agree. And I say that as a fan of Gail Kim. But it's like, well, how long are you going to drag this out? How long are you going to keep the same woman at the top of your division? TNA has to understand that at this point, Gail being at the top, ensconced at the top, preventing other people from reaching the top, has become counterproductive. It's preventing the knockout division from evolving and growing and changing. Gail has become the cause of stagnation in this division. I don't like saying that, but goddammit, it's the truth. You could put her on utility player status and she could still, help the other girls have good matches, but that way we could have a new girl as the champion. I'd like to see Jade as the Knockouts champion someday. I'd like to see Rosemary as the Knockouts champion. Hell, I'd like to see Cherry Bomb as the Knockouts champion. But is that ever going to happen? I don't know. Gail seems dead set on holding on to her spot no matter what. So who knows? Do you think Matt is desperate, going too far for heel heat on Twitter? No, I think he's just trying to sell his character on Twitter. And actually, the stuff he says on Twitter, that's, in my opinion, some of the more entertaining stuff Matt's doing. I have a problem with his on-screen performance. I think he's doing a better job of selling his character on Twitter. I really do. I actually think Matt's having a little too much fun with that. With the Twitter stuff, no. No, I disagree. I think he's actually doing good on Twitter. It's when he's on television is when it's not as good. What would Matt Classic say about O-Dog? Can we stop talking about O-Dog, this O-Dog the Great, please? I don't want to talk about him anymore. They're finally building new stars in the main event scene and tag scene, but relying on the 2007 knockout talent. Agreed. I don't understand it. They seem to want to keep the old time knockout. They seem to want to keep the 2007-2008 knockout status quo intact as long as they can, and I don't get it. Okay, you can revamp your roster and bring in new stars and put over new stars in every other division, but not the knockouts. Why? Okay, Velvet shouldn't be there anymore. Angelina, well, she's not there right now, but Madison Rayne hasn't been doing anything interesting and got in a long time. Madison's just completely stale. I mean, I will agree that her performance has become better now. I don't really have a problem with her performance anymore, but she's just kind of there. Not really doing anything interesting either. Although, to her credit, at least she's shown that she's willing to put over the new girls. She's jobbed to Jade a couple of times. Thank you, Madison, for that. That's more than Gail's doing. Rosemary's character work is some of the most interesting work by a woman I've seen in a while. Totally agree. She's killing it. I think this is basically just her gimmick from Smash Wrestling with a couple of tweaks. But I think that's why people are finding her so fascinating right now. I mean, she's only made a couple appearances on the show so far, but people have really gotten invested in this character really quickly. Because she's just so different and so unique. Now, I think it's interesting. They put all this time into the dollhouse, but it seems like Rosemary is the one people are talking about after just a couple of weeks. And I think that speaks volumes about how good of a performer Rosemary is. If everyone knows it's Grado under the mask, shouldn't Dixie come out and fire him again? Yes! She should! The really fucking stupid thing is that she doesn't! The mask doesn't even cover his face! It's just... The whole thing is fucking stupid! I want to see Orton in TNA as the top heel. I know it's not about the show, but... Randy Orton? Dude, that'll never happen. No, he's in WWE. He's not going anywhere. Do you think Eli Drake will be the next rising star like Magnus should have been? Not if he keeps jobbing out to Grado. Like, he could be, but he's got to start winning matches first. I got this feeling Maria might be the new leader of the Dollhouse after that segment she had with Gail a few weeks ago. That might be where they're going. I really hope not, though, because they need other things in this division. Because the Dollhouse thing has been the primary storyline for a while now. It's getting old because the Dollhouse have been jobbed out so much. They need to do different stuff. They need other feuds. They can't just rely on the Dollhouse thing forever. And I just think... I'm not ready to call it quits on the Dollhouse as a faction, but they need other stuff that they can go to so they don't have to rely on this all the time. It seems like the faces in the Knockouts division always get the upper hand. Yeah. Thank you, Gail Kim. Because Gail always has to have the upper hand. I don't know why. I just left, and I didn't hear your response on Bellator. I didn't really have one. I didn't watch the show. All I had, I read the show report on MMAtorch.com about that fight, and I saw a clip of the ending of the fight, and wow, that looked embarrassing. I'm going to try to find the whole fight somewhere, because I actually want to see this now. But it sounded really bad. NJ, I'm not even going to dignify that comment with a response. Odarg is basically TNA's replacement for Shark Boy of this era. I think you owe Shark Boy an apology for that remark. What does the term diva mean to you? I don't know. It's what the WWE call their female performers. I think it has a few negative connotations, but I don't know. Doesn't really mean anything to me. And there go the questions again. Make Helms commissioner of the X Division. It's been running on Tigre Uno versus DJZ for a year now, so give it a heel leader and sign up loads of talent with no limit style and watch the ratings increase. It's not just about signing new talent and letting them wrestle a no limit style. You'd have to give them characters. You have to get them over as people. You can't just bring in a bunch of bodies and put them in the ring and have them wrestle a car crash match. It takes more than that. Not sure how feasible it is, but surely an offer to assist AAA through their current financial problems by assisting with wages in exchange for local loan talent would help both sides. TNA is not in a great place financially either, dude. Now you want them to give AAA money? Probably not going to happen. No women got a pop until Velvet came out. She is the most over. It's not because she's a good wrestler, though. You know, I've been over this in the comment section at TN Asylum. Okay, yeah, no women got a reaction in that match. Well, do you kind of see why? The Dollhouse have been booked in such a way that they can't get over because they've been jobbing too much. Madison Rayne has never been over, and Gail Kim is not over anymore. It hasn't been for, at least since last summer. And in my opinion, that's because she's become so stagnant, and she's not really doing anything interesting. She's just the champion who's holding onto the belt, and nobody else can touch her. And I think just people have just gotten bored with her. And so what, Velvet got a pop? So what? It's not because she's good. It's because of, well, we all know why she got a pop. Thoughts on the new Cruiserweight show in WWE? Seems like they're trying to monopolize the wrestling business. And it's not going to be good for anyone, ultimately. So I heard Shane Helms re-signed and Raquel got thrown out of a Knockouts locker room. Raquel did? Where'd you hear that? How do you think WWE is booking AJ Styles so far? Yeah, I kind of already talked about that last week. Don't want to go into too much detail. It's about like I expected. I think here they're establishing him as a mid-card guy. They're trying to book. They're booking him in such a way that he doesn't talk too much because they probably don't trust his speaking skills very much. And I think having him get jobbed out to Chris Jericho early on is not a good sign because everybody beats Chris Jericho these days. And putting him in a feud with two guys who are much better talkers than he is, admittedly, I don't think it's going to do him any favors because WWE stresses the importance of that stuff over wrestling. I don't think he'll be buried, but I don't think he's going to rise that high on the card. Just my opinion. You know you're fucked when you need Velvet Sky to save you. Gail Kim, who is pretty close to being undefeated, needs help from Velvet Sky. You know, Gail's been so untouchable and so indestructible against the Dollhouse, I'm surprised that she needed help at all. I mean, she's beaten them in handicap matches, for fuck's sake, and now they attack her Madison 3-on-2, get the upper hand. So finally, the Dollhouse are getting some kind of upper hand on Gail Kim, and then Velvet Sky, of all people, saves them and destroys them 3 at a time. That's fucked up. Velvet Sky, why couldn't they just beat her down too? It's not like Velvet's offense is believable and beating up 3 people at once. It's stupid. Wanted to let you know I've been a supporter of you since the Knockouts vs. Divas video in 2007. Thank you very much. Do you still want Gail Kim to have your baby? No. I'm over that. I also hear Raquel's supposed to wrestle her first match in March. TV tapings? Oh, Jesus. Her first match... No. She's had 2 matches so far. She needs a lot more experience before she's going to wrestle on TV. You know, TNA put Rebel in a match on TV when she'd had maybe 10 matches in OVW. Ideally, I would like Raquel to have many more matches than that under her belt before she starts wrestling on TV. It's just not a good idea. She's way too fucking green. She needs a lot more experience. Don't rush her into the... Don't put her in the ring before she's ready. It's not going to lead to anything good. I mean, Rebel's been wrestling on TV for a while now, and yeah, she's improved somewhat, but she's still a long way from where she needs to be. With Raquel, it's going to be the same thing. Even if she does turn out to have some wrestling talent, she's not going to be incredibly polished. She's going to be shaky. She's probably not going to know what to do out there. It's just not a good idea. No, NJ. No, Taz can stay away. We don't need him back. Maria as the new leader of the dollhouse. I actually thought of that, but then you're basically selling me on a stable of Mike Bennett and 4 women, which would work better if Mike was the manager. I don't think it would be a stable of Mike Bennett and 4 women. I think it would be Maria just doing something on the side. Not to mention, it's plugging in yet another outside leader as the dollhouse. Yeah, that's why I don't like it. I think the dollhouse, I'd like to see the dollhouse just do their own thing now. I mean, Taryn was the leader, she left. Kong was the leader, she left. I'd like to see them just get pissed off and Jade be like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to be the leader now. We don't need to take orders from anybody else. I'm tired of it. It hasn't worked out. Our leaders just abandoned us. I'm going to be the fucking leader now. And I'm going to be in charge of this group. That's what I want to see. TNA need new knockouts like Jennifer Blake, Cherry Bomb, Kaylee Ray, and all they need to beat the fuck out of both the beautiful people in the dollhouse altogether. Well, the dollhouse don't need to be taking any more losses. If they bring in those 3 and have them beat the fuck out of the beautiful people, I'd certainly be on board with that. I honestly thought that nothing could be worse than Mr. Not Hulk Hogan America, but then Grado happened. Oh, Christ. Yeah. Will Mickie James return to TNA or WWE if she chooses to come back to wrestling? Mickie James never left wrestling, dude. She's still wrestling. Yeah, she's working for GFW now. Angelina confirmed via Twitter that she's coming back after she has the baby, and I don't think that's a sure thing. Did she confirm that on Twitter? Are you sure? Because I've seen her say on Twitter that she's not sure, that her coming back is not a sure thing, so who knows? I think she's just trying to keep herself relevant. We don't really know how she's going to feel after she has the kid. Coming for Rosemary for kissing her husband. Davey is the one who kissed Rosemary, remember? Rosemary did not want that to happen. You know, he's the one who forced himself on Rosemary, and now Angelina's mad at Rosemary? Yeah, that's not fucked up at all. Although Paige wants to get rid of the butterfly belt, she still has an attachment to the term diva as like it's a label that she wants to change. Well, of course she wants to get rid of the butterfly belt. The butterfly belt sucks. I honestly thought Eli Drake was the star of the show when Grado was a close second. No, Grado was fucking last. Fuck Grado. Why don't TNA sign Kenny Omega? He's better than Matt Hardy right now. Agreed, but why? Well, Kenny Omega might not want to work for them. He seems to like working in Japan. I'd love it if they signed Kenny Omega, but it's not as simple as that. How would you book a Jade face turn? I think for the time being, she should stay a heel. I think it would have been easier for her to be a face if they had a leader, if the Dollhouse still had a leader for her to turn against, but they don't. If anything, Jade's the leader of the Dollhouse now, in my opinion, unless they put Maria in there, which would be a mistake. But if I were to turn Jade face, honestly, I think there's something to this Gail Kim turning out to be the ultimate heel in my idea. You know, she says she's standing up for the knockouts and wants to like represent the knockouts and kind of represent what they stand for, but it's secretly, like behind the scenes, it turns out that she's really just trying to protect her spot and wants to prevent anyone from challenging her. And that's when you reveal that, and that's what ultimately turns Gail heel, and have Jade be the one who challenges her and takes the belt from her, and have, you know, like a weird reversal of fortune. It's like, oh, Gail was the heel the whole time, and Jade was the face. I think there could be something to that idea. Matt Taven's contract with ROH expires. Mike Bennett basically been teasing the Kingdom coming to TNA soon. Okay. We'll see. I don't get why people hate TNA doing big faction stables, yet New Japan and WWE do big faction stables every year and no one says anything. Well, because TNA have overdone the idea. They do big faction stables way too fucking much. It's been one of their biggest go-to angles for a long time, and they're overused to the point where they don't really mean that much anymore. Is TNA married to Gail Kim and Velvet? That actually would make at least some sense to why they are booked the way they are. Not literally, but it does seem like they're terrified of letting go of those women and want to keep them in their spots as long as humanly possible, even though it's become counterproductive at this point. But yeah. Kenny Omega says he has no intention of leaving New Japan. Alright, got offers from WWE 3 times, which should be a breach of tampering with contract. Yeah, okay. Well, that's why TNA's not using him. Since the Feast or Fire stipulation means nothing, Curry Man will make his big return and take out our Lord of Wrestling. No! No, Curry Man will not do that. Allison Kay would be an addition to the Knockouts. Yeah. Whatever. You know, Allison Kay's got great mic skills. I've never been super impressed with her wrestling, though. Sure, some people will disagree with me on that. That's fine. It's not Madison herself that I have a problem with. It's just the main cage match memory I have of her and Velvet together was a promo fight segment on pay-per-view a few years back. A few years back, probably when Madison's promos still sucked. Yeah, okay. Gail Kim, I can see why she's getting pushed. She's so much. She's one of the most over knockouts in TNA history. Not anymore. Plus, being the first ever Knockouts champ, she's the fabulous Moolah of the Knockouts division. Okay, the fact that she was the first ever Knockouts champ is the reason why she shouldn't be the champion anymore. Because she was the first ever Knockouts champ in 2007. We're 9 years later now. And the girls who were ruling the division 9 years ago should not be at the top anymore. You know, time goes on. People's interests move on. People get interested in new characters and new girls and want to see new people get pushed. Just to keep things fresh and interesting. The problem is Gail Kim is still in the same damn spot she was 9 years ago, and that's not the way it should be. You know, as great as she is, you have to move on and try different stuff. WWE, it's just people being sheep. With New Japan, it's the way they do these stables that's way better. TNA's large groups are almost always just an invasive force that lasts one story arc. Yeah, okay. Why don't you like Maria? She was awesome in ROH. I think Maria's good with promos. I don't think much of her as a wrestler, though. I never have. I think she's a good personality, and she has value in that regard. I don't want to see her wrestling, because I just don't think she's very good. And plus, she's another one who's been around for ages, for years and years. And she's not going to add anything new to the Knockout division. The Knockout division needs new people. People who are getting a shot on TV for the first time. People who the casual audience is being exposed to for the first time. Ain't nothing new about Maria. New Japan, they will have Canada, Suzuki Gun Bullet Club all at once for a number of years. It still doesn't feel stale because the members all have a purpose on their own. Yeah. Giving each member a purpose does contribute to the longevity of a stable. That's something that TNA's always had a problem with their stables. It's been confirmed that TNA will be taping in the Impact Zone from March through October. Little upset, but I get it saves money. At least we look forward to the India tour in the summer. Jeez, March through October? Oh, Jesus. That's not good. Yeah, Maria was awesome in ROH as a talker and a manager. As a wrestler, she's not at the novice she was before, but still average at best. Yeah, well, there you go. Maybe she's improved a little bit. I don't know. I haven't seen her wrestle recently. But even if she's if she's just average at best, then what's she going to add to the knockouts? What could she possibly contribute as a wrestler? I mean, they've lost so many strong workers. They need to replace them with strong workers. Maria doesn't count. I'm sorry. I don't actually see Maria wrestling anymore. I think she's now just a valet as she was. As she says, her first lady of wrestling is inspired by Miss Elizabeth. That's what I'm hoping this is. I'm hoping that she's going to bring in somebody new to manage against Gail Kim. I hope that's where they're going. It kind of seems like that's it. Because it looks like Maria is avoiding wrestling. Like avoiding facing Gail as a wrestler. So I hope she's going to bring in somebody else to be like her proxy in that regard. That would be the best idea. I still say Cherry Bomb makes the most sense. She would be great in that spot. Because we already know Cherry Bomb can have a great match with Gail. I hope that's what they're doing. I hope that's where this is going, but who knows? When was the last time Gail defended her belt? I don't even remember. It might have been before the World Title Series started. I think that Raquel's story was false because it came from Meltzer. Oh, it came from Meltzer? Oh, well, it's probably false then. Raquel's going to be TNA's version of Eva Marie. Ugh. Except Raquel is actually hotter than Eva and can probably wrestle better. Well, how do you know she can wrestle better? She's had 2 matches. We haven't seen her wrestle yet. I guess Rosemary is the new zombie hot of TNA. That probably applies to her better than it did Daphne. How good is Toni Storm in your opinion? I think she seems kind of green still, but I think she's got a lot of potential. I've seen a couple of her matches. She shows a lot of talent. Cherry Bomb's great. I don't think her skills are in question. Last I heard, Mickey wrestled in October 2015. Nothing recently. That's why I asked. No, she's working for GFW now. She's still wrestling. Do you think Rosemary is hotter than Daphne? I don't know. I'd probably pick her over Daphne. Just personal preference, really, though. Even the fact that Davey forced himself on Rosemary wasn't an act of lust or power. It was presented as him sucking the mist out of her so she couldn't use it on him and Eddie. Well, Eddie already had her subdued, had his hand over her mouth. She couldn't spray the mist at him anyway. He didn't have to kiss her. He could have subdued her another way. I'm just saying. I heard GFW has a small TV deal in Germany or something. I don't know. Supposedly the New Zealand thing was their first TV deal. I don't know. Don't really care. Not really paying attention to GFW. So for Angelina, who kayfabe-wise has never been linked to Davey in any way, to suddenly come up and try to feud with Rosemary over that just doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time they did that, though. Think of an over-wrestler example you wouldn't mind as GM so Dixie can finish any storyline. TV time and someone else steps in. What? I just think that if it was a more like GM, no, they don't need a GM. It's one thing I'm enjoying about TNA is that there is no authority figure taking up screen time. You know, Dixie shows up once in a while, but it's not as an authority figure. She's just the owner. And I prefer it that way. Because the whole authority figure concept is a completely played out idea. It's old, it's tired. I don't think it's necessary anymore. And if you don't have an authority figure, it frees up more time for the wrestlers. So no, I don't want it. I don't want an authority figure. think Angelina was just joking / in character via her kayfabe Twitter feud with Rosemary. Yeah, that's all it is right now, in my opinion. Maybe they'll make something of it. I don't know. It could be setting up a feud when Angelina comes back. I almost kind of hope it's not setting up a feud, because one, I don't care about Angelina anymore. I have no desire to see her on TV anymore. Also, if she's just coming back, they're probably going to want to put her over, because she's another one of those established stalwart knockouts from the 2007-2008 status quo that are probably going to want, that TNA management are probably going to want to protect as much as possible, which means that Rosemary would end up doing the job for her. And what the hell would be the point of that? It's stupid. If Angelina's coming back, it should be to job to Rosemary as much as possible to get Rosemary over, because she's the one who needs to get over. As for the whole idea of a Gail Kim double turn, I like it in the sense that it could create a new top face, which fits more since Rosemary is better as the new top heel. Okay, yeah. I could see Rosemary getting over as a face, actually. Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, they wanted Daphne to be a heel a lot of the time, but, people loved her. And they would cheer her regardless. I could see Rosemary getting a similar reaction. Do you think Brady will win the Divas title at Fastlane? No. Is Jimmy Havoc going to join the Decay? Who knows? It looks like he's going to be feuding with them for a little bit. I would like to see him join the Decay. I don't know much about Jimmy Havoc, but I think character-wise it makes sense. Plus, I want to see them find somebody else for Crazy Steve to team with, because I'm not really high on Abyss anymore. But I would like to see them sign Jimmy Havoc, because a lot of people seem to be high on him. Plus, they do need new talent. The part I don't like is Maria being the one behind it, because the way she's talking about turning the Knockouts mainstream is entirely heelish. I don't like Maria being behind it either, but a lot of the things she said were true. Maybe they were uncomfortable truths that some people don't want to admit or acknowledge, but they were true. Knockout division is broken. It needs to be changed up. Maria was the one kind of lobbying for change, even though she was the heel for saying it. But it does need to be changed. I would just prefer it if it wasn't being changed by Maria. You don't talk about making something mainstream if you want it to become mainstream on its own merit without getting some sort of blatantly corporate Hollywood makeover. I still think the intent of the message was a good one. I just don't see Gail turning heel again, especially with her getting older, and I don't see Gail wrestling past age 41 or 42. I think it would make a lot of sense for Gail to turn heel at this point. I don't know. Gail could continue wrestling for a while. I mean, she's getting into her late 30s now, and she hasn't slowed down yet. It doesn't seem like she has any intention of retiring anytime soon. She could keep going for a while, actually. Do you find Naomi's heel work good, or would you prefer her as a face? I haven't really seen much of her as a heel. Oh, God. Plus, the whole heel stuff with Team Bad was so really dumb a lot of the time. Like, Unity! It's like, ugh. Really stupid. I guess I would prefer her as a face, yeah. ROH does the faction deal as well. That's the message we get if Maria's the game changer. She can't be the face in this. Making the double turn be with the Dollhouse and Jade being the new face, like I said, is much better. Yeah, I think there really is something to that idea, actually. Might write a column about that. Athena would be a great addition to the Knockouts. Her indie match with Jade was amazing. Well, Athena is in NXT now, so that's not going to happen. I don't know if Adam Cole will go to TNA since WWE might want to make a play for him this year. Adam Cole seems to want to stay in ROH for the time being. I think he said so in an interview recently. I say Gale will probably wrestle for 2 or 3 more years before retiring. All right. That bum Curry man owes Christopher Daniels money. All right. Can't stay ahead of these questions. Have you seen Raquel training moves she's been putting on her Twitter of her doing wrestling moves, and she's using a triangle choke arm submission hold as her finisher? I've seen them. I think she shows potential. But a lot of people show potential. There's a difference between showing potential and being ready to wrestle on TV. It's good that she's training. She seems to have some athletic ability. That's good. But it remains to be seen if they're going to put her on TV and she'll completely fall apart. We don't know. That's why I want her to get a lot more experience. Okay, you're training. Good. Got some athleticism? Good. Go out to the indies and get a lot more matches under your belt. You need more than 2 before you're ready to wrestle on television. See, the Dollhouse keeps on losing if they disband. How would you book it, and how would they disband, and when, and how, and why? When, how, and why? I don't know. They keep on losing. They just have them get frustrated and decide, okay, this Dollhouse thing isn't working anymore. Do like a brief 3-way feud, put Jade over, and then have Jade go for the title. Because Gail needs to defend that title against somebody. Crazy Steve would be a better Raven character. I don't know. I kind of like Crazy Steve the way he is now. I probably agree that Toni Storm is green, but she would be the one I'd hire. But maybe that would make one too many green knockouts, or is new better regardless. I'm okay with Raquel for now. I like Toni Storm, honestly. I'd be okay with her TNA signing her. Is she green? Yeah, but I think she's probably good enough where they could kind of swing that and make her where her performance would be acceptable enough to be on TV, and she could learn as she goes. I mean, she's probably someone that WWE is going to snatch up before too long. So they might as well get on that before they do. It seemed like TNA were kind of keeping an eye on Deonna Purrazzo, and now it looks like she's NXT bound. So, I mean, you can't afford to rest on your laurels and just sit idly by and watch these people from afar. You have to jump on them because WWE is signing up everybody. And Toni Storm is one of those people. It's funny, they can protect the knockouts from 2007, but the originals that built the company from the jump and can still put on quality main event matches, they never got that even when fans wanted it. Yeah, I know, it sucks. It's really unfortunate, and I don't know why that is. For some odd reason, I can see Raquel maybe joining the Beautiful People. Ugh. Honestly, I'm so ready for the Beautiful People to be done with. This gimmick has been played out for years and years and years. They never want to let go of it. I don't know why. Okay, the Beautiful People gimmick is part of the reason why the knockout division is stagnating. Because they don't want to get rid of it. It's been a thing for fucking 8 years. Let it go and move on to something else. Jesus. They were second fiddle at best, with one heavyweight title picture getting the occasional one or two runs, while Angle and Jeff Hardy were treated as the main guys on a consistent basis. I think Raquel getting stiffed hard in a match was uncalled for, especially from 2 local jabronis. Yeah, there's no excuse for that. I think Raquel does need to prove herself. I don't really like how she got into TNA, just because she was a reality show contestant in WWE. I think that's dumb. If they're gonna sign somebody, it should be because they're talented. They should get in on their own merits. That said, getting basically assaulted in a wrestling match because two other girls didn't like her for whatever reason, that's terrible. That's unprofessional bullshit, and there's no call for it. And the money tanked, and they were the ones that got let go. There's only like 2 or 3 of them left now. Well, the big stars to which you were referring to, those big names, they're mostly gone now too. Angle's one of the only ones left, and he's about to leave. I guarantee you, Angle was making more money than any of the people you mentioned. That's not disrespect to either Kurt or Jeff, just acknowledging that TNA can be politically bipolar at times. Oh yeah, definitely. I agree with Maria's message of the knockout division needing change, just pointing out that there was a heelish language in how she presented it, which to me preempts her working in a double turn. Though I agree. It was presented in a heelish manner, but the message behind that was true, in my opinion. There was a lot of truth in what she was saying. She just said it in a heelish way. If she said that, if she gave that same message in a babyface way, you wouldn't even really have to change the promo all that much. That's what I find is so kind of how do I say this? But that to me is what's so strange about the situation, because she's a heel for saying it, but it's if you just tweaked a couple little things, she could also be a babyface for saying it. And it is about 5 o'clock, and I have to go to the store. Okay, get your final comments in now. I'm writing the cutoff. I'm putting the cutoff point in as we speak. Oh, man. Damn allergies. Okay, and no. There we go. All right. Where did I leave off? One reason I don't want to see the Dollhouse disband is because Marty and Rebel were thrown in the background with TNA. Don't want to see the Dollhouse disband is because Marty and Rebel were thrown in backstage with TNA not knowing what to do with them while Jade gets the push. Well, there's a reason for that. Jade is the best worker of the group, and the Knockout division is lacking strong workers right now. Now, she's easily the most polished member, and that's why she's getting pushed the most. Although I say pushed in quotation marks because that's not exactly what she's doing, what they're doing with her. She's getting featured more. She tends to look the strongest of the group. That's because she's the strongest worker. I would agree that by comparison, Marty and Rebel are kind of thrown in the background, yeah. That's one thing I would like to see really change with the way the Dollhouse is presented. Give them individual roles within the group. Okay, Jade is the muscle. She's the workhorse. So she should get featured the most in the ring. Marty is probably the best on the mic, so have her be the group's mouthpiece. Have her do the talking for the group. And you've got Rebel, who is great personality-wise, but she's, still shaky in the ring, very shaky in the ring, and she's probably utilized best in a supporting capacity. So, okay, just example of how you could book the Dollhouse in a segment. Say they're having a match with somebody. Jade has a match with somebody. Say Gail Kim. All right, so Gail's in the ring, waiting for Jade to come out. Marty comes out instead. And she cuts a promo on Gale from the ramp to distract Gale. Gets Gale's attention. Then Jade jumps her from behind, and that's what starts the match. And then Marty disappears, and then suddenly, they're doing the match. They're going back and forth, and then right at a critical point, Rebel appears at ringside and interferes for Jade, helps Jade win. So there, you've got each of the three members of the Dollhouse doing something different and getting to stand out as individuals because they each have a different role within the group. Instead, you've got Jade carrying the bulk of the wrestling, and then you've got Marty and Rebel not really doing all that much. And it's the same mistake they've made countless times before with these stables, where they just lump a whole bunch of people together and they don't have individual roles for a lot of them. Reference Immortal. Let's not even get into that again. Immortal was it was like 15 people and nobody stood out because nobody had an individual role because there were too fucking many of them. It's a mistake they made with these stables a lot. Who would you sign from WWE to the Knockout division? Becky Lynch, Asuka, Paige, Bayley. Most of the new girls. Eli Drake, how good a talker is this dude? I rate him even over Ambrose on the mic. And I agree, why not sign Toni Storm now? I agree with you before she gets signed elsewhere. Yeah. She's got the look. She's certainly someone that the WWE is going to notice eventually. And she'll probably get signed by somebody else at some point, so why not jump on that before she does? Toni Storm seems to have all the tools to succeed on television, so snatch her up. She's probably good enough at this point that she could, work on TV. She'd be a work in progress probably, but not as much of a work in progress as Raquel is going to be. At least she's got some experience under her belt. Marty could be okay if TNA let her do that character at Knockouts Knockdown 2014. Yeah, Marty hasn't really gotten a chance to really show character yet. That's why I'm saying, look, you got three girls in the Dollhouse, give them individual roles within the group and have Marty carry the personality side of things and the mic skill side of things. Have her be their spokesperson, their mouthpiece. That would be a good way for her to show character. Doesn't seem like that's where they're headed yet. Jimmy Havoc would make a better Raven persona than Steve. I agree with that. I like Steve. I like the character that Steve is doing now. But Rebel, I don't know what type of character they do with her after the Dollhouse. Yeah. They didn't really seem to have any plan for Rebel before the Dollhouse. If nothing else, this has given her something to do. Once the Dollhouse ends, I don't know where Rebel goes from there. Triple H title reign is pointless. I don't disagree, but with their depleted roster right now, they just don't have many options. And he's probably the best of a bad situation. Did you see the Kenny Omega press conference? No. Thanks for doing these reviews. You're welcome. I do my best. All right. Okay. Let's answer these last three. Favorite TV show currently? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Love that show. I don't really watch that much TV anymore. I still, I love Game of Thrones still, although the last season wasn't the best. But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Wade Barrett retiring from wrestling and WWE allowing their wrestlers to take shots, jabs at him via Twitter. Is he retiring from wrestling or just leaving WWE? I don't know. Not surprising. The guy kept getting injured, and he wasn't really in a great position, not really getting pushed anymore, so I can understand if he wanted to leave. More evidence of WWE's pettiness. Yeah, they are very petty. Whole world, did you watch Deadpool? Deadpool. Excuse me. Yes, I did. I saw Deadpool last week. I gave my thoughts on that movie in the comic show post show, which is which is on my page. So it's the last video. It's the last live stream I did actually. So that's the first thing I talk about. So go watch that video if you want my thoughts on Deadpool. It's a good movie. Go see it. And that's going to be it. My voice is starting to give out. I apologize for that. So thanks everybody for joining in today. I think we covered a lot of stuff here. Good job with the questions, and tune in next Thursday. Again, comic show, post show again, and Saturday as well, where we'll talk about lockdown. Wow, lockdown is the next show, isn't it? Holy shit. That show used to be a bigger deal. I missed that. But we'll talk about that Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern and Saturday afternoon. I'll be here. Please join me if you can. I will talk to you then. Later.